So welcome to everyone who is watching, and most importantly, welcome to my guest today. I would like to introduce you to Raza Latif. He is the president of NuAxis Innovations and a friend since we both participated in a leadership development program a couple years ago. And so Raza, for those who don't know you, tell us a bit about your background, where you're from, what you do.
So thanks, Jeremy, for having me in your program. First of all, you asked me where I'm from. I grew up in Pakistan, so as you can tell from my face, I'm not someone who's grown up here, and you can hear it in my voice also, in my accent. So I grew up in Pakistan. Since my childhood, it was my dream to come to America. My mother used to make fun of me. You know, she used to say, the stork dropped you in the wrong country. You should have been dropped in the United States. So, I was able to, I went to school in Pakistan. I became an electrical engineer, and I was actually working in Pakistan, and I got an opportunity. If you remember back in the day, there was a shortage of, technical people. Mm-hmm. And, I must confess, I was not ultra technical, but I had a technical degree. And I knew that was my ticket to come to the US, and I did arrive here, and that was about 20 years ago in 2000. And since then, I have been pretty much immersed in the government contracting industry. A lot of it is very circumstantial. Some people call it luck, some people call it whatever else, serendipity. I landed in this town. My first job was with my current partner, our CEO. He and I started building, we are engineers, we wanted to build products. So he and I started another company in which we were going to do products. We couldn't succeed in that. Products is a different reason. I can have a full long talk on what not to do when you want to build products. And from there, we had some government work, and I think many years ago, a long time ago, we kind of pivoted and said, you know what, we need to focus on government services. And we did that, the last 10, 11 years, and I think we've been able to kind of grow the company organically, to a decent size. That's my story. The fact that I'm in this industry of government contracting, I would say it's circumstantial. I like to tell people that there's no 80-year-old looking out of a window at night and saying, I want to grow up and be in government contracting, right? That's not what it is. But at the same time, the fact that as an immigrant, I ended up in this area where the government is the main customer, is the main force, economic force. So I just jumped on that, and I said, you know what, this is what I'm going to do, and we've never looked back.
So how did you go from electrical engineering how did that segue into an IT role?
So as I said, it's for me, it was my desire was to come to America, whatever it took, right?
Sure.
And the fact that I had background in electrical engineering, and I was actually doing product management in Pakistan, and I literally exploited this shortage of people who could manage a server or do a access control table on a router. And I used to do that as part of my work with this telecom company where I was doing product management. So that was something that was needed, and I was able to and I'd done some development work for an e-commerce platform using Perl back in the day. Yeah. So I had all these things, and I said, okay, what would you like? And that's a pure consulting contracting mindset. Right. Uncle Sam, what would you like? Would you like me to do this, or this? Because I can do whatever you want me to do. So it was more of that. And as since you and I have worked together, my personal passion has always been business development, kind of creating the ideas and kind of inspiring people to move in a certain direction. And I've been very blessed that even starting from the really lowest rung of the ladder, when I came here, I was able to, kind of move in that direction. And now I'm blessed enough to be running a business. I would also like to point out that there is, I am a product of the Small Business Administration's programs, right? When we started the company, we were an 8A company, and then we were classified as small business. So, we got all those support, all that support that we get out of the government for people like myself, who, if I did not have those support mechanisms, my trajectory would have been different. So I think the key point there is that, you need to really look at these programs. And it doesn't have to, you don't have to be just a minority to do that, right? Small businesses get a lot of, support. Hub zone companies, get a lot of support. Women-owned companies get a lot of, impetus. So I really want to acknowledge that those programs out of SBA and the government in general really helped me get to where I am. And my journey hasn't ended yet. I have other places to go, but getting to this point, it has been very, very helpful.
Oh, that's fantastic. So based on your experience then, I know you've worked within government and done this for a while now. What is something you see that we should consider changing? What is something you would change if you had the power to wave a magic wand or convince the right people? What's something you would change about the way we do IT today?
It's a hard question for me. Maybe I'm a status quo person. Let me give you my, we're having a conversation. Let me give you my kind of view. I think when you're in an industry, the industry has all its quirks. I mean, our industry has a lot of risk aversion. It has a lot of inertia. And when I look at it, I don't get flustered by it. I always kind of look at it this way. Hey, this is my money. I'm a taxpayer. This is public money. And there better be a lot of pause before any contract or any procurement or any technology investment is done. So I attribute some of that, what basically frustrates people. Sometimes I find it to be, something that's part and parcel of our industry, right? If you're in the oil and gas industry, you are beholden to the whims or the winds of change of that industry. Sure. And I think, for our industry, so I'm just talking about the inertia and the risk aversion, right? And that's something that obviously frustrates a lot of people. Other than that, I think, the only thing that I wish would be more, there's more of that happening, is I think the communication piece. And it's a very cliched kind of a thing, but the fact that because of the process, once again, the process, sometimes I think that our customer kind of uses FAR as a mechanism to not engage in conversations. And I've come across very smart young contracting officers who don't do that, who know that for anything to be successful, they have to have the communication. And you can do it within the realm of the FAR. You can do a lot of communication.
Yeah.
So that's one thing I would like to change, where people are more, less concerned about, less concerned about these regulations and more concerned about the impact of their actions, right? So yeah, I mean, this kind of communication would be really, really welcome. And it's happening. It's happening. It's getting really, it's getting better as we speak.
I think it is getting better. I think some of it is also the community you and I participate in around the ACT-IAC, for those of you who aren't familiar with that. But ACT-IAC is kind of like a public and industry, melting pot of ideas, right? But you're right. I think that is, in my experience, I'm being on the government side, you're right, that I do see government people finding ways to use the FAR to say, no, I can't talk to you, when instead you're allowed to talk all the way up until you put the procurement on the street. And that's the best time to get the best information, right? That's what we call market research, having those conversations and finding out, what you could even do.
Going just a level deeper than that, even when the RFP is out, there's a Q&A process, right? So if I should be able to send you a question, and I'm not expecting an answer, just to myself. The process takes, but I should be able to have that conversation and have it very easily and openly and say, hey, this is what we think that we need to make better, and then get it out to everybody else. If I'm, as an industry person, willing to do that. So my point is that even after the RFP release, and now we're getting really technical here, but the RFP release, there is an opportunity to communicate, and we should, and there are people who do that, and they're very successful.
Right. Well, I mean, to be fair to your side of the equation, it does require government to plan far enough in advance that they're not running up against the wire on their previous contract, to put those mechanisms and give the right amount of time to have those conversations before award. And as you and I both know, that's not always the case. The government doesn't get things done in a timely fashion sometimes. But when they do, you're right. It can be very beautiful, right? It can really create an engaging opportunity to ensure by the end of the day, like you said, we're both beholden to the taxpayer, right? At the end of the day, we want what it's going to be the best use of those funds. So that we can get what the taxpayer deserves from them.
Exactly.
Absolutely. So then, interesting. So thinking about that, I mean, your company is in service delivery operations. Where do you see the future of that type of work then within government or in general?
So, talking about the future is so easy now because of this pandemic, right? I mean, I think, it is really, here's how I look at it, purely from my personal standpoint. The human sort of journey has been moved when there's a crisis, right? Usually wars, the World War, the First World War, Second World. After those, you can attribute, really game-changing changes in our psyche, in our economy, in our after. I think a pandemic is exactly that. It is something that has really accelerated. I was saying earlier that except for the virus part and all the destruction the virus is causing to people's lives, if you put that aside, which is hard to put aside, but let's put it aside for intellectual purposes, the pandemic has really pushed us into out of our comfort zone. And people who thought that you have to show up at 9 o'clock at work and then leave at 5 and then do whatever you want to do from that. I mean, all those mindsets have changed, right? I mean, we proposed a year ago, which is obviously pre-COVID. We proposed a model in which our technical agents were going to be working from home, and it was a very interesting model where agents would be allowed to work from home and save on the cost and all that. And I think that in that particular procurement, the agency had concerns about it. And the agency, and the concerns were, how would you monitor that they're working? And how would you monitor that they're doing the work? And what is the governance layer and all of that? And when and I'm sure if this happens today, those questions would not come up because it's a solved problem. So I think this ability to work from wherever, this ability, and I have not heard of a single. Let me tell you about my company. So we are about 500 people, and we support a bunch of customers. And because of this change in paradigm, there has not been and touch wood, a single kind of like a ball has been dropped or which something that happened, which was, in fact, people have become more responsive. People have become more engaged. People, because of the quality of life ROI that people are seeing. I personally, I have lunch with my kids every day. I never thought I would do that, and right. I would think about it. I was like, by the time I would be able to have lunch with them every day, they would be gone. But now, it's a thing. So I think, coming to your question, the future is going to be very interesting. The future is going to be around experiences. The future is going to be around, enabling people to deliver most value. One example, I was talking to one of my neighbors, and in a socially distanced way, that we were talking, and she brought up this very good point. She said, what? Now we were talking about our kids like neighbors do, right? And she said, a star physics teacher in San Francisco can be a teacher to our kids, right? I mean, that's really, really earth-shattering, right? The fact that Jeremy, you and I can be sitting in a class at MIT, which is a privilege, is now something that we can do and not even think twice about it. So I think the what's going to happen is that all these barriers, all these physical barriers that we had in our heads, as well as in the physical world, I think they are now broken, and the water is now flowing freely. I think it's going to be also it's going to be a much fairer marketplace. It's not gonna favor people who have been around for a while and have the contacts and have the infrastructure and have the sort of investment. I think companies, very small companies who have the right ideas, have the ability to be agile, have the ability to use technology, put them together, build solutions, are going to do really well. So I think we as a company are really pushing ourselves hard to say that, we cannot rely on the fact that we've been around for now 18 years and we have this past performance, that past performance, and this is the size of our company. We'll have to rely on, once again, our intellect and our innovation capabilities to say, here's a problem, here's how I'm going to solve it, type of thing. So I think whatever I'm saying was supposed to happen. The only thing is different is it's been accelerated. Okay. And I find that to be extremely exhilarating because, okay, it's about time. Now there's no getting away from it. So you might as well embrace it head on and try to be successful.
That's true. I mean, I could see leveraging your federal experience now and say working for a state government, right? But you don't have to be there anymore. You can just do it remote.
Exactly.
That's fantastic. Well, any other parting thoughts before we end this episode?
Well, one thing I just wanted to kind of share with you, and I'm personally very passionate about it, is the area of experiences, and I think I touched upon it very, very quickly. I also think that, going forward, people, let me quickly share something with you, and I'm talking about IT now, right? I'm not talking about anything fancy, or I'm talking about the plumbing, the service delivery. So about 10 years ago, Department of Interior, which is a big customer of ours, their very senior executive did a town. They did, they went from office to office and did these surveys around how IT is doing. And one of the things that they found 10 years ago was that people at that time started complaining that the IT that they have at home was better than IT that they have at work in the federal government space. And I found that to be fascinating because you remember, Jeremy, you and I grew up in a world where when the office had the fast internet, right, and the really, really, nice computers and monitors and all of that. And I think that was a turning point when I realized that, people are now not asking for technology, they're asking for experiences. And for good reason, companies like Amazon and Google and Facebook and all these big companies, Microsoft included, I know you're a Microsoft fan, they have been able to deliver some really, really amazing value through experiences. And that's kind of what I think, we need to be thinking at the of the world from a human-centered design standpoint, rather than a system design standpoint. I mean, if you look at the last big successes like Apple, I mean, I still get goosebumps when I remember that many years ago, their mission statement was that, machines are here to serve humans. Right. And Apple is here to make sure that stays the case, right? So, they have always pushed for things to be intuitive, things to be working for you rather than you working for them. Machines should not be controlling how I need to write a slash, and then I need to write a hash, then I need to learn what copy star means. Oh, why? I mean, why? I already know enough languages. I don't want to learn another language. So I'm very gung-ho, very, very passionate about this idea. And we actually have built a very strong capability in our company around CX, where we have a director of CX, and we have very, very well-defined work streams that are working purely. We are challenging every gap and saying, we think this gap exists because we are not looking at it from a human-centered perspective. We're looking at it from a system perspective. One last example I'll give you. When I run out of space on Google, the word cloud never comes up. It doesn't say your cloud space is finished and you have to buy the. It just says your storage. You can't store more photos. That's all. That's all Apple or Google says. You can't store more photos. That's my problem. Yes. What do? You need to do this thing, which you'll have to pay $5 a month, and you'll be fine. And that's it. That's all I need to know. I don't need, I don't care if the cloud has elastic or this or that.
Right.
So I think that experiential approach is going to be very important. And I'm a stickler about it. Even being, having a technical background and all of that, I play a very, very, a general user who has so many other things in their lives to worry about that they should not worry about whether this monitor is compatible with this computer or not. Those are, very, very problematic things. So yeah, I mean, just wanted to share my passion about customer experience, and whoever's listening should look into this and think about their paradigm of how they think about solving problems for their customers, for their, for the environment around them.
Awesome. Well, that is a great lesson to take. And so I want to thank you, Raza, for taking this time out with me today to have a conversation just about yourself and where you see things going. And thank you so much.
No, thank you. Thank you for the leadership that you have always shown as a government, a person, the technical leadership that you've shown. So when you asked me to join you for a conversation, I said, you know what, whatever it takes, I'll be there. Thank you so much, Jeremy.
All right. Thank you.